Hey everybody, what's happening? It's AJ here with Trax, and I am bringing you a walk around of the brand new 2024 Polaris Ranger XP Kinetic Ultimate, which means that it's higher than the Premium. I know those two things are a little confusing. Premium and Ultimate both sound really good, and they both are, but the Ultimate gives you the 29.8 kilowatt hour lithium battery, which means it'll get you up to 80 miles of range if you drive like your decrepit old grandmother. We all love you, Granny, but yeah, you got to drive that way to be able to get 80 miles of range out of this. That's like best case scenario, you know, downhill with a tailwind all the time. If you drive this normally, use it normally, you know, you're not going up hills all day long with massive loads in the back or towing something, and you're not in sport mode all the time or standard. If you run it in eco, you should probably be able to get a solid 60, 65 miles out of this. And that's something that, before we get into any of the other business about this, everybody's, you know, griping online. Oh yeah, but range sucks. You know, range sucks. It's terrible. I need to be able to go, you know, 120 miles a day. How many people actually go 120 miles with their Ranger in a day? We did a survey online and we found out not very many of you at all. And those of you that do are not even going to be in the interested category for an electrified Ranger. So it's kind of a moot point. 80 miles, yeah, it's probably not super attainable unless you're in eco mode on flat hills, or sorry, on flat land, just driving really mellow all day long. But say you get 65 miles. I went out the other day with Luke and another buddy of ours and our wives. We went out for a ride in Razors and we put on 60 miles, I believe it was, 100 kilometers. And that was a really good, like, 3-4 hour ride. That was in Razors. This is a Ranger. This is a work side-by-side. This is more focused on that. Sure, obviously Rangers, you can go out and have fun. We always do, and we always say that they're a great kind of sport utility vehicle, but really they're more focused on the utility side of things. So range to me really isn't a big deal. Now, if you buy the smaller one, buy the Premium, I understand where that could be a bit of a problem because its max range is only 45 miles. 45 miles, that's at absolute, like, being a miser when it comes to driving. So probably the reality there is about 35 miles worth of range. That I can understand. That's probably going to be, you know, a little bit less. Maybe golf courses, you know, inner city areas, you know, downtown yuppie scum, you know, those types of just kidding. Sorry, I had to put that in there. But let's get this clear. Like I'm going to tell you in the test ride that you'll see coming out really soon, or you can check it out on YouTube as well. This is not your, you know, white leather Tesla, don't use it, you know, kids don't eat in the car. This is not built like that. This is not the old EV Ranger built in the mid-size chassis with small tires for low rolling resistance and a battery that's absolutely, you know, just loathsome. This is a real Ranger. 1,250 pounds of bed capacity, 2,500 pounds of towing, 140 flipping foot-pounds of torque. The Ranger 1500 only has 104. And have you seen the Ranger 1500? Like, you could almost load a full-size Ranger in the back of that thing. It's so big and burly. This has almost 40% more torque than the Ranger 1500. It's also 110 horsepower out of an electric motor. And let me tell you, it pulls, it tows, it hauls, it goes fast, it rips, put it in sport mode, and it is an absolute blast. Now, your range is obviously going to suffer dramatically when you put it in sport mode. I'm not exactly sure what we can get out of it. We haven't had enough time to go out and do like 10 good, you know, just specific sport mode rides to figure out how many miles you're gonna get, but I'm willing to bet you're gonna cut your mileage in half if you're running this thing wide open a lot. Hey, it is what it is. It's a battery. I mean, if you go out and drive your 1000 XP Ranger wide open throttle and do nothing but play, it also gets horrific gas mileage. So that's just the way that it goes. Now, this Ranger is pretty premium priced, or pretty ultimate priced, let's call it, not premium priced. Why is that? Well, it comes with everything. It's the bigger battery, which obviously costs a lot, and I'll show you where that is out back afterwards. But it is fully featured, fully packed. So it's got ride command, it's got navigation, it's got a built-in stereo, it has a screen that you can hook up your phone to wirelessly and like check the battery life and check range and check all of those things. It is absolutely jam-packed, blasted full of all kinds of usable features. It has a power port in the rear box for 12 volt, you know, for charging things. It's powered off the dash. It's just a really, really full-featured Ranger. So yes, it's premium priced. Yes, when you go online and look at the price, you're gonna say, oh my goodness, that's not cheap. No, it's not. Guess what? They sold out of all of the Kinetic Rangers. You can't get one right now unless you find one used that somebody bought and is reselling. So you're gonna have to wait until 2025 to get one because they sold out of them. That's pretty cool. I guess there's a lot of people out there who are waiting for something like this. And truthfully, after the first Ranger EV go through, you know, the mid-size one that it worked, but it wasn't impressive, and it was much less performance. The range really suffered on that thing. It wasn't very good. They had to use smaller tires and you know, with less meat on them because they were trying to essentially jam pack a monster truck golf cart into a Ranger. This is not that at all. This is everything that a Ranger delivers. It's the same suspension, 10 inches all the way around, same ground clearance, 14 inches. It's all of those good things. It's the front bumper with the built-in Glacier, you know, quick attach snow plow mounts. Yes, this thing will plow snow. It does have the hookups for a winch. You can pop a winch on there. I am a little bit surprised that at the price tag and with the Ultimate, it doesn't have a winch on it. I think that that's something this should come with. I also think it should come with a flippin' roof. I mean, come on guys, what's that worth? Like probably 12 cents in actual poly. Let's put a roof on this thing when in Canadian dollars, it's like, you know, 40,000 plus almost. I think that those things need to be added in on this. But with that being said, don't think that because it's an electric Ranger, it can't plow snow. Other issue I know that I'm gonna hear down below is, yeah, but why would you plow snow with an electric Ranger? The battery life's gonna suck. Well, sure, if you leave it outside all the time, it's gonna suck. But who buys this thing at this price point? Who buys a 1,000 Ranger at this price point and just leaves it outside all winter? Your battery in your 1000 XP Ranger is gonna suffer too for starting it if you leave it outside at -40. Yes, this battery will drop in performance with cold. It's just natural. That's the way it works. But I believe Polaris said that they figure somewhere in the 20% drop range is what you'll get if you leave this thing outside in the cold. So cold weather use, you're gonna lose about 20% of your battery life. That's not horrible. It's still usable. And really in the winter, after the survey that we did online of over 1,000 different people who use utility vehicles, we asked how many of you use these in the winter months on a daily basis for riding more than just snow plowing or anything like that. And I believe it was 10 or 11% said that they use their off-road vehicle, utility vehicle every single day. So 10% of you are using that. Those people are probably not gonna look at an electric Ranger because it's not gonna answer the question for them. That's fine. The rest of us who don't use one every day, you wanna go out and plow the driveway? This thing's got more torque than any other vehicle that Polaris makes in the utility category. Go plow your driveway. Put a 12-foot Glacier plow on it if you want. It's got the most torque in its category. It's crazy. It's got more than the 1500, like I said before. So don't feel bad about doing something like that. This will plow snow, no problem, happily. Yes, you're not gonna be able to go out and plow yours and 50 other people's driveways, but obviously put it in its category that it's in, realize that, live with it. It's a great product, works really good. I've had a blast, you know, using it. The number one thing that I'm blown away with is when you get in it, like it's on right now. It's actually on, it's in park, but this vehicle is on. Now they do make you shift, you know, into high and then do it again, it seems. We're still trying to get that totally figured out, but there is a little bit of a safety feature there, but there's no beeper, there's no thing that's flashing at you saying, I'm driving, I'm good to go. There's a little symbol on the dash that comes up when you are actually electrifying, but it's kind of weird because like in most of these walkarounds, we'll start it up and rev up the engine for you, but I can't do that because it's actually on right now, it's running. It's just weird. When I drive with this thing, I don't really hear anything other than just the sound of the tires, and it sort of heightens your senses. Like when you stop and slow down, everything doesn't take that couple of minutes to start to, you know, recognize like, you know, the sounds of nature, the things around you. Right away, you're already picking up on everything because, you know, you haven't been blasted with engine noise for the past, you know, 20, 30 minutes, whatever it might be. So I find that I hear a lot more, I sense a lot more. You know, I'm picking up on a lot more things. It's kind of an interesting and unique experience. Driving around my yard, even just, you know, doing some yard work, it's super quiet. I'm not imposing on anything. I'm not making more noise. So I can see that there's a lot of areas that this would really be beneficial. You know, maybe if you've got a an acreage near a city. You know, there's a lot of these estate properties that are kind of close to the city, but not too far outside of, and people who would want something that's quiet. They don't want to rip around in a gas-powered vehicle and disturb the neighbors. Well, this is going to do just that, and do it in an impressive way where you can do all kinds of yard work. You can do whatever you might need to do. Like I said, fully featured, comes with 29-inch Pro Armor X-Terrain tires, which are great. It's fully featured inside. There's some cool gauges and cool things. Both gauges, the center pod and the center stack display, give you battery range, and it's just kind of cool. It goes through everything that you normally would with your Ranger. You know, you can set everything that ride command gives you. It gives you all kinds of interesting information. When you hit the throttle and hold it down to the very bottom and just like, you know, bury the throttle in sport mode, the little speed gauge, you know, showing how much power you're using goes into this like little lightning symbol, and that's like when you're getting the full 140 foot-pounds of torque and 110 horsepower to the wheels. It's kind of neat. It shows you that. And it's live, like visual usage of your battery. So you know exactly how much you're using, how much you have left, and how much your range is going to give you in your current setting. As you cycle through with this little drive mode button here, it will give you the different expectations for range as you're driving. So it kind of, you know, calculates that in the brain on the fly, which is sort of cool. It also shows you regen. So, you know, when you're off the gas, you know, downhill, those types of things, it shows you regenerative back into the battery, which I think is probably pretty minimal, but it's on there. Up front, you've got an auxiliary 12 volt. You can turn that on, and then the port in the back of the box will give you power. It is just a 12 volt. It's not a household plug. Be kind of cool to see a household plug back there. You know, like in Toyota Tacomas and you know, Chevys now have those in the box. I think that would be kind of a cool feature, so you could actually plug something in that's usable. It is a pretty big size battery, so you probably could run like a you know, a chop saw or a table saw or something like that off of it for a little bit, which would be kind of neat. But I'm sure somebody will come out with that, and Polaris may already have that as an option. So this does have the stereo in it, has the navigation, has you know, you can hook up your phone, Bluetooth, the whole thing. Ride Command Plus is what they call the system that you can hook into on your phone. You get that for free for a while when you first buy one of these, and then after it, Polaris says that it may cost. We'll find out. We don't know just yet. So on the screen, it gives you all the information that you're going to need. You know, your battery voltage gives you your battery percentage up top, but then this is kind of your, you know, tells you your miles per hour in the middle, so how fast you're going. This is your battery usage here. Anything below 0 is regeneration, which says here regen. Anything above 0 is obviously power usage. When you get up into the 80 to 100% range, or maybe it's 70 and above, this will fill with lightning bolts when you're in sport mode, and it just shows that you're like, you know, you're getting that 140 foot-pounds of torque to the ground and that 110 horsepower. It's kind of neat. You can obviously change everything on here just like Polaris always does. You know, they give you lots of options. There's tons of availability of changing up your screens, moving the widgets, you know, doing whatever you want with them. This is a really, really intuitive dash. It's very nice, and I like it a lot. I kind of prefer this screen here. Up in the top corner, you're going to see eco mode, and then when I hit the drive mode button, it goes into standard, and then it goes into sport mode. So these are just all, you know, the informational pieces. Yeah, it's got the navigation on it. Super easy, works great, and it's super fast responding, which I really like. So Polaris, you know, they do a wicked job on that. You can go to your phone, we can add a headset, or, you know, add your phone in so you can listen to music in there. We can go to the music button, go to radio, or, you know, whatever source you want, and then back to our normal gauges here, which is kind of nice. You can cycle through, tell you what your charge is, and keep your range up. But the center stack display also in between the steering wheel gives you your range, your speed, your battery life, shows you the regen and power used, and then also, you know, on the left-hand side, it shows you your miles per hour. So lots of information in here, outdoor ambient temperature. You know, you can go into the actual settings if you want to. You can check into the charging, all kinds of stuff. Another cool thing, yes, cameras. So you can switch between a front and a rear view camera. This one doesn't have the front from the factory, but they're not very expensive to put on, so it does have a backup camera. Go into game camera. This will allow you to put a USB drive into a plug on the under part of the dash, and you can look at your game camera pictures right on the dash. So if you go out to the hunt stand or the blind, you can check on those, which is kind of cool. So that's some of the interesting and neat features that are right up on the dash. And then one of the things I do really like about Polaris vehicles, I used it on the weekend. If you have any, you know, any issues, you go into here, you go to diagnostics, and if there was an error code that came up, if the check engine light comes on, it'll give you the actual code here and tell you what it is, so you know exactly what the problem is. And I really like that because that's kind of handy. Now, it has plow control for lifting the plow up and down so that you know exactly where the plow is. Everything that a regular Ranger with Ride Command has, this does. Has an engine start lockout, so you can add a passcode in. You have to put a code in before you do that, and a speed limiter if you want. You can add your code and do that. So there's one of the things that's kind of interesting and unique on the Kinetic vehicle, and it looks similar, but it is different to the old Ranger EV, and that is the shifter. So still the normal shift modes of high, low, neutral, and reverse. High, low, neutral, and park. But to go from forwards to reverse is no longer another notch in the shifter. It's actually this button here. So pretty simple, straightforward. In fact, it's almost easier than a gas-powered Ranger, because if you're in high, all you have to do is that to get into reverse. You don't have to find the notch in there. I imagine for snow plowing, this would be really, really simple. So I kind of like it. It's still functional. It's still exactly like the regular Ranger, except with one less notch and just a button instead. So not hard to figure out, not hard to use. And then obviously you have your normal, four-wheel drive modes. You've got your turf mode, your two-wheel drive, and then your, on-demand four-wheel drive. So, yeah, same as a full-size gas Ranger, because this is a full-size electric Ranger. Same amount of storage in the dash, glove box, same amount of storage, all the bins underneath, exactly the same as the Ranger. I know I keep stating that it's exactly the same. It's just because the old Ranger EV was so different and this one is not. Now, I can show you back kind of where the batteries and where the chargers and where all those things are, but you really can't see much. So we'll have a look anyways. So usually you're gonna look for an engine under here, but there's not. There's a motor now, an electric motor. It gives you a bit of a layout. There's a little panel on there with a sticker that shows where like battery pack 1 and battery pack 2 and the charger and all these different things are. There's not really much to see. That is what it is. That's it. It's uneventful. It's kind of unexciting. It's clean though. That's nice. I mean, one of the nice things is like the power washer will tidy that up really easily, and it won't be as much work as with the gas powered, because that's got all kinds of heat shields and different things. Heat is another thing. It's going to be probably cooler in the cab due to the fact that you don't have that engine blasting out all that heat. So that's a little nicer when you want to charge this thing. The charge port's right here. Kind of locks open for you. And then it's got a little snap open charge port. Pretty simple. This is magnetically held shut. And then the charger comes in this nice little Polaris case. It's quite a like fancy looking charger. It's got this guy here that plugs right in, super easy, very much like an electric car. Has the button for locking it in and out. And then it comes with a household adapter for higher wattage, or higher amperage rather. So right now I have it hooked in for just the regular household charge at like 120 volt, which is, household 3-prong plug. But you can hook this up for a higher amperage charging, and that'll get you charged up faster. I don't have the exact specs on that. If we can find them, I'll put them up on screen. But it's, yeah, if you hook it up to 240, you're gonna charge way faster, but you can household charge it. You gotta carry this thing with you if you're going anywhere. So that's the only downside. Like, a gas can is universal. It fits in, that 3/4 inch hole in the side of the vehicle with a cap on it. That's a little easier. If you don't bring the charger with you and you go somewhere, say you're going on a guy's ride, or you're going to the hunt camp or whatever it might be, if you don't bring this with you, you are euchred. So yeah, shut her down after your 80 miles because it's over. That's maybe one downside. It would almost be cool if the charger was like built in with a pull-out cord or something like that, but I mean, that is what it is. It's not a big deal. And I imagine if you own one of these things and you've spent the money on it, if you've got a hunt camp or a cottage that you take it to, you're probably just gonna buy a second charger and leave one hooked up in both places. That's probably the more reasonable thing to do. All in all, I'm actually really impressed with the Polaris Ranger XP Kinetic. Polaris did their homework, and one of the exciting things about this is that they put a lot of time and energy and effort into everything surrounding the electric package on this vehicle. It wasn't like, oh, they had this from something else, so just toss it in here. It's very specifically built. There's a lot of integration in like the gauges on the screen, the center stack gauge. There's a lot of integration here, a lot of stuff that looks like we're going to be seeing electrification coming to other vehicles. So I'm not going to be surprised if we see an electric Sportsman very soon, you know, an electric Razor. Probably you're going to see an electric snowmobile from Polaris at some point. I think all of these things are going to be coming because Polaris is, I mean, they've been known to do this type of a thing time and time again, where you see this kind of integration, this kind of detailed work. Everything on here is super tidy. The old EV Ranger, you looked at and you went, yeah, this probably isn't going to be in anything else. It was like a glorified golf cart. This is not. This is full featured, fully integrated, a lot of money invested here, a lot of time and effort. You know, the engineers who put their work behind this have done a great job. And there's, I'm sure, a lot of sleepless nights and, you know, weekends, evenings, long hour days put in to make this thing work. So I have no doubt that you're going to see electrification come to a bunch more Polaris vehicles in the very near future. And that's exciting because they're doing good work. And the lithium-ion batteries are only going to become better, or the newest technology battery, whatever that might be, is going to keep getting better. Range will continue to increase. I mean, look at regular, you know, wound motors to now brushless motors and how much more efficient they are. There's going to be more technology. There's going to be more things happen, and we're going to get better range out of these vehicles. Not to say that 80 miles isn't good. It is probably a more realistic 60 to 65 miles though, and that's still pretty good. I mean, that's a good day's ride. That's a good day's work. There's still lots here. Polaris has done a great job. And if you're interested in a Kinetic Ranger, after using it, like, don't go out and think that this is the old EV. Don't think that this is just a bunch of, you know, technology left on a shelf thrown into something. Very high end, very high level. They did a great job. Good on you, Polaris. And I'm actually excited to go out and use this thing even more. I think I'm going to keep it here at my house, and I don't know, Luke and the rest of the crew are gonna have to peel it out of my hands because I like it. It's quiet, it works good, does everything a Ranger should do, but it's silent. Seems like every time I do this, I forget to start the vehicle up and drive it. Oh, it's actually already started. It's running.